Hi there, welcome to the Noah Presgrove case, looking at the latest observations, zeroing in on the party footage. There was an item of interest noticed by a viewer on my channel, credit to them, which may have not been seen ever before by other people. And maybe a couple of others that may have glanced past it thought nothing of it. Today, I want to spend some time looking at certain areas and findings within the party footage, ranging from Noah Presgrove's shorts to a particular item which may or may not have been used in the murder of Noah Presgrove. That's what we're going to start off with today. Later today, going into nighttime, UK time, it'll be shown on my community post if you're wondering the timing. I'm going to try and do a live premiere and do another viewpoint from the party footage. So there are a range of different things coming out today, so be on the lookout for it, but we need to focus in right now on what we're going to start with. Now, if you are interested in these type of videos, this analysis where we look at the screenshots, where we look at the photos, we zoom in, what can we see? Is there anything odd or stands out? I had done a previous video like this, much deeper and more modern footage from about 4 or 5 days ago. If you go on the eye symbol just there, top right, click on that, you'll find the playlist of all the videos that I've already made so far. You can catch up on them if you've missed out on any or you're new to the channel. And you'll also find the link to the video that I did last night, which was very, very important. And there was activity caught on camera outside of the property, appeared to be in the middle of the dark, in the middle of the night, maybe. So just check that out when you do get time. But for now, we're just going to return back to the party footage itself, dating back to 2023, September 3rd / September 4th. Can't remember exactly when it happens, probably Sunday night, but then maybe going into early hours of Monday. The footage of what we're going to take a look at, as for the finding caught in the background, just to give you the context before we start, is actually when Noah Presgrove was kind of asking to be slapped by one of the partygoers known as BS, also known as Brylan Sweat. The moment Brylan slapped Noah, he jogged away, the camera panned around, and it was showing the light behind him, which illuminates the area, as well as the barn just a bit over to the left. But it's what's just next to Brylan on the ground, which is kind of interesting. I'll play the clip first, and then we'll analyse.
As far as I can tell, I do trust you. I trust Timmy. I trust Timmy. I trust Timmy. You're rooting hit me soon. Go ahead. See, I wasn't going.
So let me know if you saw the objects caught on camera in the background. It was very brief when it showed up as it moved on to the next clip of the party footage. But what we have on screen right now is the first individual, at least to my knowledge, that noticed it and left a comment on my channel. As I said, if people saw things at the time of what I didn't see, you can always let me know down below because it can be very helpful. And in this case, that was true. So shout out to my panda girl. I think that's how you say it. This person said, I never noticed that brick in the grass when Brylan Sweat, also known as BS, runs off after slapping Noah. So that might give a bit more context as to when it actually occurred. A brick. Some of your mindsets could be thinking a brick. Could the brick have been the murder weapon? Is it still there now? Was it moved afterwards? Who knows? Now, when you think of a brick, or maybe even a cinder block, the appearance of it is a bit rough and rugged. Now, we can apply that to possible injuries with Noah, and you can let me know your thoughts down below, just to put it into motion where it shows up. Not in this footage, but I wanted to try and use it as a comparison, but it could be difficult to do so. This is the party footage, as you should be familiar with now. Brylan Sweat there, jogging away. Behind him is the light, as I said. It's the same like what you see in that footage there, next to that basketball hoop. The basketball hoop doesn't show up in this shot back then in 23 because it's off camera to the right. Take in mind, if you didn't know, this footage here was so many days ago, 2024. this is 2023. I just wanted to use it as a comparison. And where that red arrow is, there appears to be some kind of block or brick. Now, if I try zoom in, to me, it really does stand out. You know, it's very defined, the shape. It looks to be some kind of brick, block, cinder block. Depends how your outlook is on it. Isn't a cinder block bigger than a brick? It does appear, though, that there are holes on top, which would share characteristics with, you know, like a brick or something, the equivalent. Those holes, what would it be used for? To fill in the cement. You know, I'm not a bricklayer, I'm not an expert there. But you can also use it to put your fingers in, you know, to hold the brick. You hook your fingers into that hole whilst holding the end of the brick, where you could lob it, throw it at an object, a window, as what some people do in this world, or even throw it at a person, like when you get riots, protesters. But people can also hold a brick and whack it over somebody's head, right? Is there a chance that this was used in the possible murder of Noah Presgrove? I'm not saying that it is. I'm not saying that this is the murder weapon, but is there a small chance that it could have been used? You think of items of opportunity, right? It might have been just a random object laying about, but if there was any confrontation, a scene, tension, some kind of an attack, and it was nearby, and a person was made aware of it, or to their own knowledge that, oh, there's a brick on the ground, I'm going to pick that up and then use it on Noah. You get what I'm saying? Now, I don't think we need to clear the image up too much, not to my knowledge. I could try editing it right now if possible. This is what I do at times, in case you're wondering. Just see if we can clear it up by any means. You can see this shade, the shadow of it, because of the light cast it just above. Stands out to me. Shadows. Sometimes the shadows work because you can make it dark on the sides and even a bit on top. Yeah, that does look like, it's definitely an object, of course. You could call it a bit of rubble. Why would a loose brick or a loose cinder block be laying about there? I mean, it can happen, right? It could be used for numerous things. A bit off subject, but some people will use a brick or cinder block behind the wheel of a vehicle to stop it rolling back if, the brakes are faulty, the clutch is faulty, or you're on a bit of a slope, incline. Some people wedge the wheels up with items, maybe even wood as well, or maybe for a trailer. Could that brick be from inside? Likely not. Outside, roof, building, additional resources, material, or it could have been laying about there for quite some time, where people leave rubble out, or a few stones or a few bits of wood nearby. Not for any particular reason, but it just so happened to be a possible item of opportunity if you used to use it either in self-defense or you were going after someone. That's my thoughts on the matter. It's like, you might have seen it in films, you might have seen it on TV shows. Person could be walking somewhere by themselves, alone. They get jumped. Someone jumps on top of them. They're panicking. They reach to the nearest thing possible, which just so happens to be a brick or some kind of heavy log of some sort. Pick it up, whack over the head, and it knocks the person out. Does it kill them? Not always. But of course, a brick can cause damage. And with the right force, hitting the right area, it could kill someone. And if not that, repeatedly bashing someone over the head with a brick could as well. Now, would a brick or would a block break? Maybe it depends on the temperature, the wear and tear of that brick itself, how long it's been there for. Is it brittle? Is it hard? Is it where you harden items, heat it up, it can make it tougher? But that maybe at the time of when you're making stuff. I don't know if that applies to bricks. I said I'm not an expert. But if there was wear and tear, things can crumble or become weaker with time. So if it was to be used with some force on like a human skull, could it break in half? Guess it depends, right? It can still cause damage, but it may break in half. So these are just like little factors I wanted to point out. So I'd say that it's clear enough to say it's some kind of block or brick, because just the shape of it, it meets the like measurements in a way visually, and even the holes on top. I just wanted to give you, there you go, look at that. It's a bit more defined now, of course. So you got the shadow there of Brylan, of course. But just there, that there. Let me know what you think. Maybe most people will agree, but do people agree that it could have been, or the murder weapon? I wanted to do that comparison, you know, with this footage here, which was so many days ago. Okay, you see the light there, and it was just by the side of it. And, you know, from this distance, it is blurry, isn't it? You can't really do much about that. There appears to be a smudge on the window screen, or possibly a crack if stones and chippings have pinged on the window in the past for the individual, whoever they are, driving by. Not at the moment, but in the past. It just so happens to be in the centre point where we wanted to look on the ground, which is unfortunate, but it is where it is. Even from that distance, you probably wouldn't have seen it. But, you know, when trying to scout around, look around it, you know, you can see the grass. It's very short cut, kind of a bit dry and scorched, bit of the dirt road as well leading up. I don't really see any objects protruding, sticking out of the ground or so. Could it have been moved since? You never know. Could we check on Google Earth Street View imagery? Would it even show up? Likely not. You know, you think of satellite imagery looking down from bird's eye view from a distance. It'll probably be a tiny little dot. It might not even show. So, but can I try and enhance this image just to try and clear it up if possible? So we're looking in that area there. Yeah, even the brightness is actually a good idea, because if you could make out just the slightest of objects. So this is the thing. Are you going to have a brick there from 2023 September up to 2024 now, getting into near to July? I mean, if it's not in the way of anything, right, and there's no reason to move it, it would have been forgotten about lightly. And if it's been there for years before 2023 or many months, why would it be moved now? You get what I'm saying? I'm just trying to think of the practicalities of it. Of course, people can move stuff about and get rid of trash and clear things out, but is it on the priority list, top of the list of things to do when you got day-to-day life, whatever, responsibilities, and maybe even dealing with, you know, people that live here or that were present here in recent time, stalking or just monitoring online to see what the latest news is, such as on the case in general, maybe even looking at what other people have to say in communities. You never know if there's any, you know, background like spy work, listening in the bushes in the background, right? You know, when you add all those factors in digitally, online and in real life, would you put moving a brick on the ground and throwing it away, dumping it top of the priority list? Probably not. So, why does that button disappear? It's a bit silly if you ask me. Right, brilliant. There we go. What does that do? Don't really want to be altering the colours too much. I just wanted to make it brighter to see if I could make out an object in the distance. And to be honest, when I do that, it all goes the same colour. And, you know, if the ground is one colour, the brick is another colour, and the light is on as well, which can cast shadows. You think you'll be able to see it, but I can't here. Granted, that silly smudge on the screen, which I can't do anything about, might be obscuring the view, which is very disappointing, but, you know, you can't blame the person, not at all. Personally, I don't really see it. No. So, let's just say on the basis it was removed. It's no longer there. What we see here, if it was moved, why would it be? One little item. I mean, it's like the golf clubs. Why would they disappear? Why would they be, you know, gone missing? What's the point of that? Hiding it. What happened to Jack Newton's hat? Lost? Where'd that end up? What happened to Noah Presgrove's hat? Where did that end up? It's just, you know, these little items along the way. You know, an item which could have been the object to possibly inflict injuries onto Noah Presgrove. Items of clothing which could have been worn at the time of confronting Noah and beyond that. And if items, objects, possessions are there at the scene of, let's just say, supposedly the murder of Noah Presgrove, then could they have been dispersed of, scattered about, removed, disposed of? If on the basis those or a person responsible for the death of Noah Presgrove felt confident enough that the injury sustained, that by dumping it on the side of a highway you could get away with it without much questioning, but as for the personal items, possessions and possible weapon, that needed to be removed, disposed of. Now, as for a brick or a block, could it have DNA on? Of course, like many other items out there. Is it easy to wash DNA and stuff off a brick? It could be a bit difficult. Some bricks and blocks can be ingrained with dirt, ingrained with blood, because it's got a rough texture. It's kind of bumpy. So things can like not quite be absorbed, but seep into the gaps, the cracks of the bricks and things like that. So when you're trying to scrub it or wash it off, it's just not as easy to do as a flat, smooth surface. You got to take that into mind. As for abrasions, cuts maybe, scrapes, that could be caused by a brick if you used to rub the brick against a person's body, or if you made contact with the brick against a person's body and it like rubbed or catched off the side, that could cause a few scrapes. Am I saying that this is the weapon? No. Am I saying this is the be all and end all for all of his injuries? No. But on the basis of possibly ambushing Noah Presgrove on the spot, could have been used to knock him out or to stagger him, incapacitate him in some way. To what? Where on the body where on the body could this item have been used on Noah? Well, if I just focus on Noah here, just so it's a bit more relevant, would it have been on the head? I mean, a brick to the head. Can it cause internal injuries? Quite possibly, but we do need to understand when it comes to bricks and blocks, the edge of it. Let me show you an example. I was able to get an image from the internet to do with a cinder block, as you see on screen here, and a brick. And they do have different characteristics, of course, the shape, size, dimensions, measurements, and even on top, that's got holes. Could be 2, often 3 holes. Cinder block, 2 kind of like these cubes, rectangles, squares. I'm not good with my shapes, am I? But you know, you get the idea, right? The shaping of it is important. How you would grip it is important. You could hold that, you know, even though it's maybe a bit too big for your hand, you hook your hand in that hole and where that little ledge is, grab it, and then you can throw and whack. Now, of course, blocks and bricks can vary in size and weight. Comparing it to what we see here, it's not exactly a big one, is it? That's got at least 2 holes or openings. It could be more so a cinder block. Might share more characteristics. It's a little bit higher, a little bit wider on the sides, like that. Now, not the exact, you know, this is just an example. But you get the idea. That could have been used. Now, I think cinder blocks can break more easily compared to a brick. Brick is more compact and hard. It might differ from country to country or the brand or make of the item. But it's like with when I think of wrestling, when you get the indie hardcore wrestling and then someone comes in with a cinder block and whacks it over somebody, or power bombs a person on cinder blocks, they just break and crumble. Now, maybe they're more so prop items, but I mean, I've seen cinder blocks, they seem to crumble in real life easier when making contact with something hard, whereas a brick takes a lot more because it's more compact. And of course, you know, houses, not all out there, but most, such as in the UK, are built by bricks. So, you know, it's worth highlighting that as well. This does appear longer, though, than the likes of a cinder block, but a cinder block appears taller in height than a brick. So you just compare this and that photo and let me know if it matches the description here as you see. Okay. In terms of the texturing, the shape, the corners, right? That's what needs to be acknowledged. You can call this kind of like blunt force injury if you used to whack somebody somewhere on the body with an item like this or this. Whether it crumbles or not, it can still cause damage on the person. To what extent? Guess it depends which one you use, how hard you use it, the angling of it as well. Now, you should be able to see, when you look at the corners of a cinder block and a brick, they can be a little bit sharp. I would know because it was a little bit on the side, but the ridge of the brick where I actually fell down onto the ground and my elbow grazed all the way down it and scraped. It took off the skin. It started bleeding a fair bit. Now, in terms of Noah Presgrove's injuries sustained, granted, I can't remember them all off the top of my head, right? Internal bleeding inside, bleeding coming out of the ears, fractures, hinge on the skull, lacerated hemorrhage within, atrium impact there. I said apologies, I can't remember it all off the top of my head. The broken ribs, the broken neck, the vertebrae, and all the keywords in between. At least from your knowledge, what you can remember as well collectively, do any of those injuries mentioned by me, and of course the rest mentioned in the autopsy report, do any of those injuries sustained to Noah Presgrove match the description, the possibility that an item like this or this could have been used? I want to know your thoughts. I'm not saying that it caused all the injuries, but is there any injury on Noah's body or within that would have been caused by this or this, which could have been what we've seen here in the party footage at the time where the arrow is? I want to know your thoughts, okay? I'm not an expert, honestly, when it comes to this stuff, because I'm not a forensics, I'm not some kind of like medical expert, but I do know that these items can still be quite lethal and dangerous. You know, you see it on the documentary, you see it on the ER shows, maybe even in real life where a person's been bricked or even glassed, but more so with a brick. You see the blood running down their face. So it's lacerated something, create a bit of an opening, a bit of a cut. Blunt forced injury, of course, on the sides, on top and underneath, because it's flat, isn't it? It's a flat surface, a bigger surface area. You make contact with that onto someone, it's not going to pierce through like a knife. A knife has a smaller surface area, which means it's able to penetrate through an object or a person. But a flat surface with a bigger surface area is less likely to penetrate, but more likely for blunt force injury and send almost like shockwaves through the body, which can cause worse damage and like the internal damage as well. So you can have internal damage on the head. You could even have a brain injury. You could have a bleed on the brain if you was whacked over the head with a brick or a block once or even repeatedly. Would it have caused, for example, the scalp area of Noah being ripped off? I don't know. I mean, if you think the edge and cornering of a block or a brick can be sharp, and if it was to make contact with a person's head or an area of the body, it might not penetrate, but it could catch. And if dragged down or at a certain angle, it could kind of cause a bit of a ripping, bit of friction. So you still got a bit of the blunt force injury sustained and impact with the chance of it catching and scraping, which could cause it to rip slightly. Not guaranteed, okay? I'm going to be honest with you, not guaranteed. But I have seen that items like this can definitely cause bleeding where you see it coming out of maybe a person's head, forehead, back of the head, even knocked out, possible memory loss. You know, anything like a blunt instrument with enough force on someone can cause some serious injuries and can be fatal, hitting once or multiple times. Just let me know what you think down below. Any of these items that could have been used on Noah, the end, the beginning, to incapacitate him, to then use other items on Noah. Did Noah try using this in self-defense? Well, we don't know if Noah Presgrove did defend himself, whether he was able to, whether it was a surprise ambush attack. I'm not too sure about that type of stuff, but it would have been interesting to know. And once again, just to reinforce, you see the grainy texture on the side of this block and even on this brick. What does that mean? Fragments, bits of skin, DNA, touch DNA, even blood could be caught on this. Maybe even bits of hair as well. caught on the inside where you could grab onto it, or on the sides where it's kind of ingrained and there might be some gaps, the odd crack. As said, the quality of the brick is kind of unknown there because you can't quite make out the detail of it on the sides, but it's probably going to be a bit of a rough texture that could cause friction if it made contact with the skin of a person. The corner and edges can cause a bit of blunt force damage, but can also rip and scrape and catch at an angle. The corner of a brick could be like the point of an elbow when you do an elbow strike. And although it doesn't pierce like a knife, it kind of, that friction kind of rips the skin of a person's forehead or just on the eyelid or eyebrow, and it causes it to rip and open, right? That ripping, that catching, that friction, is that what links to the scalp at a certain angle from how the brick was, sliced down, slammed down? It's probably going to be likely an overhead strike, like a bottle motion, like boom, like that. I said, once again, just want to make it very clear, I'm not saying that this is truly the case, but I'm making sense of what's around, what could have been used. Take in mind the important thing behind this, which you see there, just in front of that light. This is like the front of the house, just towards the side on the left, right? As you see there, it's not round the back. It's like on the front. So if Noah Presgrove leaving from the front or going around to the front to leave, because there's only that one dirt road where you come and go from, and Noah was to walk down it, even before he got there, if anyone was following after him, could have found that and noticed, hey, Noah, get back here now. Where you going? Picks it up, goes after Noah, bang, on the head. And then maybe other items are used or other people gather along. Who knows? I'm just trying to make sense of it practically and the uses of a brick. Besides the practical uses of a brick and a block, it can be a weapon, it can be nasty, it can cause internal and external injuries. Oops, there we go. So leave your thoughts down below. Now, I do also remember hearing about the pattern of one of the injuries, damage sustained to Noah's body being in a shape of like a fish of some sort, like that. I can't do it perfectly. With that being caused by a brick, probably not, because of the shape of a brick, like that on the sides, and then at a corner point going down. In terms of the stock, the end of the, rifle butt, where you put it into your shoulder to brace for the impact as it absorbs it all. The end of that stock of a rifle could have been, because of the shape of it, like that. Golf club as well, possibly. I said, not saying about the brick and the block is directly used or that it caused that fish-shaped like injury, but it could have played a role in some way. And if it's no longer there now, was that yet another item disposed of? You never know. Did the item break? Not sure. I just wanted to put it out there as an observation, because it just goes to show that even this late on into the case, that with older footage, even limited, people can still see things now which they may have not seen before or never have. It just so happened that the reason why it was noted and seen this time round was because I got a screenshot of it and paused the video to show it to people. Because it like when you looked at the party footage yourself, as the camera pans around, it's only for a couple of seconds. So blink of an eye, it moves on to the next bit of footage, and you probably would never have seen or laid eyes onto it or even thought about it. Okay, so leave your thoughts down below. I'm probably going to try and do obviously another video later, live premiere. I'm thinking of possibly incorporating the finding, the observation of Noah Presgrove's shorts, and as well the rest of the party footage, maybe lots of different screenshots to, point out to you what can I see, what's in the background, who is who, or at least try and make an attempt to do that, right? I know the transcript, the audio of some of the party footage is important, but it feels a bit too heavy to do at the moment. I just want to focus in on the footage itself. Am I going to play the video all out again? I could. I don't know if there's enough time from now till when I make it. Maybe I could include the party footage again, if it's not too long, but then go for it bit by bit, screenshot, like how I did yesterday, if that's okay for people. So yeah, be on the lookout for it. Live premiere tonight, UK time, 9:30 p.m. I think. So yeah, be on the lookout for it. And if you do want to catch my earlier video, such as from yesterday, click on the eye symbol. Leave all your thoughts and comments and reactions down below under this video. You'll find a pinned comment by me with some additional links if you want to support this channel. Shout out to the people that have supported this channel recently, even such as last night, very good. And yeah, I'll see you later.